Sam. I'm making this video about Taurus and this astrology sign ruled by Venus, the feminine quality of Venus, where Venus reflects and internalizes and gathers and holds beauty, comfort, and pleasure. Venus, of course, is the planet of the appreciation of beauty. We can find that in the appreciation of nature, other people, sensual experiences. So through the body we experience Venus through physical pleasure, and then through the mind we experience it as that joy that comes from other people and, from the beauty of life. It feels beautiful to us. And then on the soul level, though, we experience it as something not to possess or to own or experience, but as something to give and to share. And so the highest quality of Venus is to want to share that beauty, not just with others, but to actually transcend the limited quality of beauty, which is also mixed with desire and pain. And again, when we try to possess it, then it becomes an ironic sort of difficult thing. So in the highest sense, we find beauty and joy in all things. That's the highest Venus nature. So in Taurus, we sort of confront and step into that principle as an internal psychological quality. So Taurus people want to hold beauty and beautiful experiences for themselves and others. Let you see what's behind me. For themselves and others, not just enjoy it for themselves, but then they want to create a lot of solid, stable, beautiful structures in their life so that themselves and their loved ones can continue to enjoy the beauty of life. Here I am on a beautiful spring day, all these people behind me, having a cookout and being together and swimming. Very kind of Taurus energy. Now, that is the quality of Rajas, which is enjoyment and happiness. And it's a fixed sign, which means it wants to stabilize things. It's stable earth. It's an earth sign, which is also about structure. So it's a fixed sign, which is about structure. It's an earth sign, which is about structure. And it's ruled by Venus, which has to do with pleasure. And it's very interesting, but this is the only astrology sign where the ruling planet is actually a functional malefic, which means Venus itself, Venus herself, is considered a malefic energy because it also rules the sixth house of problems, difficulties, maybe arguments and battles, but certainly things like health problems and things like laziness, and the negative qualities of Venus can be very detrimental to the Taurus person. It shows where they can, in many ways, be their own worst enemy, because the house of enemies is also ruled by the ruling planet, and it's a Venus kind of enemy. It's not a Mars kind of enemy, because Scorpio, the ruling planet, also rules the sixth house, but it's not considered a functional malefic. But with Venus, it is, which is quite interesting. So it shows that through things like indulgence, laziness, being stuck in their ways, Venus can harm them. So those Venus qualities of being sort of placid and not moving forward can be difficult. Taurus is quite a stubborn sign where once they find something they enjoy and they love, then they hang on to it. Often even at their own demise. Or, maybe not demise, but they hang on to it longer than they need to. So needing to be dynamic is an important Taurus trait. And we'll see this reaffirmed several times. So Taurus can tend to cling to stability and structure more than growth. You'll see where Taurus can maybe hang in there with situations longer than they need to. And then look back years later and say, I should have left that a long time ago. So when we look at the other house rulers, we see it's where Mercury rules the second and fifth house. And of course, this is about, the fifth house is about creativity, intelligence, and the second house has to do with values, family, money. So this is why Taurus brings a lot of skill, intelligence, and power into the realm of their family, into earning money. And they're also often good speakers, and they speak clearly and they say what they mean. They're not, BSing you, they're usually pretty honest, as honest as they can be. We're not always tuned into our true voice, but they're very clear about how they feel. They'll usually be pretty honest with you. Mercury gives them a lot of skill. Again, the most obvious is to earn money, to earn a good living, and then to want to share it with their family. It's pretty clear. But Taurus is also very creative, per the nature of Venus, which wants to create beauty. And not just in their home and family environment, but also things like writing, art. Mercury gives Taurus a lot of aesthetic skill and enjoyment of it. So this is why you see Taurus are often artists of some sort. Again, even if it's just creating a beautiful environment for their home and their family, and but things like gardening and herbs and all that kind of stuff, they're very skilled and they enjoy it because Mercury is a very skillful planet, and it rules their fifth house of intelligence and wisdom and their second house of values. And the moon rules the third house. So again, the thing I just said about how Taurus sometimes has a hard time asserting their self-will, asserting their will, even to change unpleasant circumstances. This is what the third house ruler actually gives us. This is what the ego is about, where we assert good boundaries and say no. This is not congruent with my principles, so I'm going to change things. This is not congruent with my values, so I'm going to change things. That's what the third house is about. That's what our ego is, and the third house ruler helps us do it. Their third house ruler is the moon, which says, I'm not sure how to assert my boundaries. I want to feel good. I want to be around my family. And my value and my ego and my self-will, which is the third house, changes all the time. It changes every day because the moon changes every day. So you can even see how that tendency to be complacent rather than dynamic in asserting their will is very suspect, because the moon, which is really the planet that doesn't have any action associated with it, the moon is all feeling, it's not action. It's always kind of like, well, maybe this doesn't feel good, but I'm not really sure how to move forward. One of the things Taurus does is because they're so able to find contentment and happiness and peace even in things that other people aren't, this allows them to endure a lot of difficulty. Even if there's one small portion of it that's enjoyable, they'll hang on for that one small portion of enjoyment, because they can enjoy that enough, and they'll say, okay, I'm willing to sacrifice and hang in there as long as I get that much enjoyment. Again, that's Venus ruling the first and sixth house. Sometimes they need to be more dynamic and say, this little bit of enjoyment is not enough, right? It's just like a cow. You see cows, they're very easily satisfied. Just give them some food, and they'll sit there and eat the food all day, and they're fine, right? And so Taurus can be that sort of complacent, to just want to be comfortable and have the little bit of happiness. That's enough to sustain them. Whereas the rest of us, we need more happiness, and we're ready to shake the apple cart if we don't get that much happiness. So their self-will is ruled by the moon, which is so, again, it's also very accommodating and like, oh, okay. It kind of gets lost in others. Now, the sun rules their fourth house, but they have a lot of drive and determination and effort, and they'll work hard for those fourth house things, which is what feels good to me. My home, what feels good. My heart, my deeply held convictions. This is why Taurus has a lot of deeply held convictions. The fourth house is literally like our gut, where we trust our gut. What's in our heart? Well, the sun rules their fourth house. So they trust their heart. Again, this is also what allows them to just sustain no matter what anybody says. It's like, you're in an abusive marriage, get out of it. Not like all Taurus are in an abusive marriage, but you're in a difficult situation, you're in a job you hate, you're in this and that, you need to get out of it. Well, but it allows me to provide for the family and the home, and I feel safe and comfortable there, so I'm going to stick with it. I get this much enjoyment, so I'm going to stick with it. And the sun gives them the conviction to stay on course. But again, it can also make them stubborn. And again, the sun is ruling the 4th house, which is deep in their heart. So again, you can see how it's kind of opposite of like the 10th house, which is where the sun has a lot of power. It's ruling them from somewhere deep down, but the sun is actually the things we're supposed to work to change and to inspire us. The 4th house is where we're trying to connect with our roots. So it shows where they have a lot of conviction in their heart, but they might not be as dynamic. But again, the sun is really trying to purify their heart as well, and purify all of those sort of emotional attachments from the 4th house. And then we go, we already did Virgo, Libra. So then Scorpio is, or Mars is the next house ruler that we talk about. We start getting into some trickiness here with Mars and Saturn especially. Mars rules the 7th and 12th houses. So again, this shows where their relationships change and transform them a lot, because the partners, the 7th house, also rules the 12th house of loss, letting go. Now again, they try to cling really hard to their partners. They don't want to let the partners go. So meanwhile, the partners are always compelling them and sort of destroying their sort of comfort zone. Their partners are often, quite willful, aggressive, assertive, because Taurus can be kind of, passive. And that assertion, that self-willed Scorpio type of people really change and transform Taurus and make them become more willful, make them become more self-assertive and to stick up for themselves. So it's through partners, through the 7th house, that they bring that Mars energy into their life, and shows how that Mars energy, how they awaken their hidden Mars strength, because the 12th house from Taurus, that hidden strength, is Aries. So you see how partners bring that into their life and teaches them to let go of that expectation that everything is going to be nice and sweet and beautiful, and if I just hang in there and take care of everybody and take care of everything, it'll all work out, we'll all be happy, it'll all be solid and stable, and we'll live happily ever after like a bunch of cows chewing their food all day, every day, for eternity. Doesn't happen like that. It's not eternal here. So again, Taurus, this is one of the things Taurus really needs to do, is to evolve that expectation that we're here to live a comfortable life, and that's why we're here. Of course, Taurus teaches us contentment and to be content with what we have, but not to identify ourselves as this limited being, but to find the eternal beauty, the cosmic stability, not the earthbound stability. There is no earthbound stability. It's never eternal. And so their willful Scorpio, Mars type partners really shake them up and bring that into their life. And then Jupiter rules the 8th and 11th house. Again, very transformative planet. It's the 8th house ruler and the 11th house ruler. So again, the highest ambition for Taurus often is to have a sort of this kind of large, unifying, cosmic experience, because the 11th house is Pisces. There's a very kind of hidden sort of inspiration in Taurus, but their identity needs to be destroyed in order to bring it about. And this is what Jupiter shows. Now you can really see the functional nature here, because again, Taurus is that fixed, solid, earthy, tangible person, and Jupiter is abstract teachings, gurus, higher principles. Those are the kinds of things that destroy our families, destroy our identity, destroy our families at times, and send us off, searching God and getting rid of everything that we thought we were. And it really shows that the higher quality of Taurus to be, in an ultimate sense, a more universal being, comes through a lot of change. In a typical way, Jupiter can be a planet of greed, accumulation, expanding through wealth, and endless, possessions that don't ultimately bring any sort of higher connection, but it just brings stress. So Taurus needs to really transform that nature of Jupiter so that it's not something that just leads them into this orthodox sort of religion. Again, Taurus can be this kind of religious, orthodox person. Instead of having an authentic spiritual purpose, they, again, like to get together with all their cows on Sunday and go to church, and this is our religion, and it's this safe, comfortable little thing, and it doesn't really transform anything until what happens is people start dying, and real Jupiter stuff wakes up in their life. They realize all these possessions are meaningless, and then they try to connect with that cosmic cow, right? Then Saturn is their real sort of dharmic planet. It's their highest dharma. Saturn is the 9th and 10th house ruler. This is why Taurus can be some of the most well-grounded and established people, because Saturn, the planet of time, commitment, focus, rules their 9th and 10th houses, the strongest angle and the strongest trine. It might be the most auspicious planet for any of the ascendants. It probably is. It rules the 9th house and the 10th house. This is why you often see Taurus in there finding their purpose in life, finding their station in life. Saturn gives them the capacity to suffer the consequences of their actions and to learn from them, to stay focused on what inspires them, to show up and face their duties and meet their duties with humility and service, and all of those great virtues of Taurus, which is to be so devoted and humble, because Saturn just rocks for them. It rules the strongest angle and the strongest trine, the planet of guru and teacher, and the planet of our duties and commitments and our swadharma. So through all of the painful lessons of life, they learn. So even if a Taurus feels like they've been in a relationship for a long time, and believe me, I've had a lot of clients over the years, these updates, these lessons I give in these videos are based on, about 15 years of readings, a couple hundred readings a year. I've noticed a few things. But even though I see Taurus people, maybe in their 40s, 50s, 60s, they were in marriages for like 20 years or something, they went through Mars Rahu, which was 25 years, and then they're in the Jupiter Dasha, they're in like the second cycle of the Jupiter Dasha or something, and Jupiter's like blowing their mind, and they're like, oh my God, and they're like, yeah, I can't believe I was in that marriage 20 years, but they don't regret any of it. Some people would regret that. They're like, yeah, you know what, I should have probably got out of it the second year. And then they just laugh and go, oh well, I learned so much. See, that's the beauty of Saturn. You can let go and you can learn the lesson. Even if it was 20 years, you know what, it wasn't wasted. I had kids, I did this even though it was abusive and this and that, and a person was horrible, whatever you want to say. This is the greatness of Saturn. They just have the capacity to learn the lesson, even if it was dumb or whatever. Not always, but Saturn makes them naturally disposed to learn the lesson, come back to Earth, be appreciative, appreciate what we have, and enjoy what they have right in front of them. So that's what Taurus teaches, that santosha, that contentment. So ultimately, of course, it's about finding peace, contentment, happiness, and beauty in things that are not of this earth. And because they're very earthbound creatures, they can get sort of stuck in that. So that's Taurus.